Well, today me and Jerry are standing here in Helena, Arkansas at the grave of Major General Patrick Cleburne, born in County Cork, Ireland in 1828. He eventually made his way to Helena here, where he became a druggist. Later he became an attorney and joined the Confederate Army and became known as the Stonewall Jackson of the West. Throw something in there, too.
One of his first places was at Shiloh. That's where he learned a lot about the terrain and how to develop the soldiers and go from there. And that's where he started at, was at Shiloh, and he learned from his mistakes at Shiloh and then went on to become one of the greatest.
Now, he left there and went to Richmond, Kentucky under Kirby Smith. And at Richmond, Kentucky, he continuously flanked the enemy because he realized after Shiloh what frontal assaults did. And he just totally routed a Federal Army at Richmond, Kentucky. But during the battle, at one point, he's given an order, and he happens to have his mouth open when a bullet comes into his mouth and knocks out a couple of his teeth. And it left a scar on his chin, so he wore a goatee from that point on through the war. And amazingly, he recovered in time to fight at the Battle of Perryville, where he had several horses shot out from under him. She's going to be able to edit it, so throw it back and forth.
Where you going to go from here?
Murfreesboro, where he bent the flank all the way back.
I don't know anything about it.
What?
I don't know nothing about it. Go ahead.
Later, he's promoted to Major General, put on over a division because of what he'd done in Kentucky. So he makes an assault on the Union right flank at Murfreesboro, or if you're a Yankee, Stones River. Bends the flank all the way back, almost pushing them back across the road, bending them back like a hairpin. And just another 100 yards, and they would have been cut off from their supply line and would have either had to retreated or surrendered. But unfortunately, he ran out of manpower, and they weren't strong enough to accomplish that. You know what it is, Chickamauga. You know. He'll do all the talking. Lance, come over here and take his place. Take his place. He's killing me. At the Battle of Chickamauga, he, of course, Bragg's favorite tactic is a massive frontal assault, which is what it turns into. It was not what was intended, but his division took a beating. But they did help push the Union Army back. They weren't in on the breakthrough. They were on the right flank, and they suffered pretty severely. Actually, he lost General Deshler, who's from our hometown, who was almost cut in two by artillery round at Chickamauga. They go on, they lay siege to Chattanooga, and as they're falling back, he saves the day. Grant wants Sherman to be the hero of Chattanooga, so I'll say that over. You get it. Grant wanted Sherman to be the hero of Chattanooga, so he has Thomas in the middle, Hooker on the right. He brings Sherman in on the left to roll up the Confederate right flank. Except there's a problem. Pat Cleburne is on the Confederate right flank. So when Sherman hits him, he's in for the fight of his life. And he cannot break Cleburne's lines. He's not going to break Cleburne's lines. Finally, Grant tells Thomas, says, advance your troops as if you're going to assault, and maybe they'll shift troops to meet you, and then Sherman can win the day. Thomas's troops advance, but they realize that if they stay where they're at, they're sitting ducks. So they continue their advance and break the center of the line, which pretty much upsets Grant because Sherman doesn't get to be the hero. His buddy Sherman is not the hero of the battle. George Thomas is. Following that battle, Lincoln calls Grant east, puts Sherman in charge of the army. Sherman pursues, and Pat Cleburne saves the army's wagon train, saves the entire Confederate army at the Battle of Ringo Gap. Twice he was voted the thanks of the Confederate Congress, which is equal to today's somewhat equal to today's Medal of Honor. He earned that award twice. Fought during the Atlanta campaign, and then went on Hood's disastrous Tennessee campaign, where he was killed at the Battle of Franklin, shot through the heart during the charge. He earned the name the Stonewall Jackson of the West. And out of the Confederate generals, you have Lee, Jackson, Forrest, and Cleburne would be my top four.